What could the USA have spent $1 trillion on instead of a 17-year-long war in Afghanistan? Fruit by the foot. https://n.wikipedia.org Wiki. Fruit by the foot is apparently 3 feet of fun. On Amazon, you can get 72 of them for $28.66. That means that, by the meter, fruit costs about 41 cents. For $1 trillion, you could get about 2.5 trillion meters, or 2.5 billion kilometers. For that money you could, if you were so inclined, produce a string of fruit by the foot long enough to get you to Mars and back. 22 times. 17 one-year wars in various parts of the world. $1 trillion represents about 50 years' worth of Afghanistan GDP. They could have literally bought the entire country with that amount. 5 college textbooks. Fix the bridges. A 14-year-long war in Liechtenstein. Those duckers have had it too easy for too long. Bionicles. Half the mods for Train Simulator. I'm no expert, but if it were a game, I'd invest it $602,020 among infrastructure, education and healthcare. Infrastructure up front so that those who are already ailing or stupid can help build a nation that the gradually more intelligent and healthy populace could benefit from. President Eisenhower, a 5-star general, answered this: every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000 population. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. It is some 50 miles of concrete pavement. We pay for a single fighter with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This is not a way of life at all, in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. My emphasis on parts that answer Op's question. A moon base would have been nice. Our dams and bridges are falling apart. Many communities have poor internet access. Our power grid is aging faster than we're maintaining it. A huge number of our citizens don't have decent health care. We don't pay our school teachers enough to make a living. Homelessness is rampant in some of our most progressive cities. The price of epinephrine has gone up 400%. Road traffic needs serious innovative relief in many major population centers. Our railroad system is woefully inadequate. Our AT network is outdated and growing unsafe. We need long-term infrastructure for oil alternatives ASAP. Our prison system needs a complete logistical and philosophical overhaul. The EPA has insufficient funding. The NPS has insufficient funding. The FDA has insufficient funding. The DOE has insufficient funding. Edit: apparently I was woefully incorrect in my assertion about ATC. Please see below. Many industry members have spoken up. Thank you to those who have. A Death Star edit, a small one. Improving our educational system. Afghan vet here. I'd have liked to see that money go towards the EPA, education, space exploration, healthcare, actually helping vets, homelessness, bridge repair, virtually anything. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have been so wasteful and costly in terms of lives and money spent. Afghanistan at least started with good intentions, but quickly devolved into whatever the duck it became. I think clusterfuck with no real objective is what I'm looking for. 1010 Love this thread. Edit: I was Army, Mos was 11B for those who asked. Boots on the ground, Mars ground. 560 trillion ladybugs. https www.arbicoorganics.com. Product 2282 potato leafhopper controls. GCL cage worth per 7 I walk x9 heo 6 no cpjq parks 0 ns 8 bia aquaworld 9s 6 eurosivs qua 8 bui. On a PC that can run Crysis on medium settings. https i.imgur.com/abopint.gif. Paid off the 2017 deficit and some of the 2016 one. Wouldn't have mattered though, because this year's one is $895 billion so far. Oh, you could have set up 5,000 fully staffed schools for 20 years. You could have got yourself off coal and oil completely as a power source. You could have created a transport system across the USA that is second to none. You could have sent a man to Mars, twice. That money could have been used to pay off almost 5% of the national debt. What a waste. A box of avocados in Australia. Hookers and cocaine. Doing 2 chicks at the same time. 50 nuclear power plants. Arena. Anything. Solar panels. At roughly $3.14 per watt. $1 trillion's worth of solar would generate 318,471,337,580 watt or 318 gigawatt, thus uses about 966 gigawatts. So a third of all power could be almost free. Or you could remove all coal and petroleum generation from the grid. Or you could give everyone free car charging, which would spur on the auto market, and reduce dependence on the Middle East for fuel, improve air quality and lower the medical issues it causes. Or blow people up in an endless cycle of pain, suffering and misery. Free healthcare, or free education. Both would probably feed back into the quality of life and prosperity of the country. A more efficient 25-year-long war in Afghanistan. Just not spending it would have been a good option. Of course, our national debt is like 20+ trillion, so that's only 5% of the total. They could have written off like 5 people's student loans. Make it a lottery system to see who wins. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water. A 170-year war with Canada. 235 294 117 647, 05 Lego Jar Jar Binks figures. An NHS schools that don't churn out idiots and psychopaths, roads and bridges that aren't collapsing apart. Take your pick. Healthcare. Border wall. $1 trillion could leverage $20 trillion in real estate purchases and construction, enough to create a job boom, get the bottom 30% into their own starter homes, and all but end poverty in the U.S., reducing the need for social programs, and thereby making everyone richer. Further, all of this money would eventually come back as home loans would be repaid. It could be reinvested all over again in less than 20 years. The key is to create starter homes that jobs can carry. Co-ops, Habitat for Humanity approaches, self-building, would all work, but not the standard marketplace or having gov. involved. They must be ousted to end poverty. Ending poverty would naturally grow the economy by at least 10% and make everyone a little bit richer, perhaps as much as 30% richer. A medium popcorn at the movies. Republican tax cuts. Lessen the tax burden and let the middle class keep the money they earned. Catgirl research. Apple. Obviously the fruit and not the trillion-dollar company. We could have paid that goddamn Loch Ness monster so he'd stop asking me for my goddamn tree fitty. Free healthcare. education and infrastructure. Health insurance for one American for 6 months. Universal ducking healthcare. We could have bought Mexico, fixed it up real nice, and then flipped it. I'll bet the EU would love to buy a nice vacation place. Putting it back into Social Security for those of us who are still years from retirement. Healthcare. Free healthcare for everyone on the Mars colony. Nothing we could fix the national debt. Honestly don't understand why everyone has a raging boner for the government to spend money. There are things we should spend it on, but fixing our own national debt takes priority over everything else. Solar panels on the roof of every building in the country. Mental health funding. Could have prevented some stuff. From the top of my head, health, education, unemployment, homelessness, NASA maybe? Don't even print it in the first place to slow down the perversion and loss of worth of the used. Mass transportation, elevated high-speed rail between cities, and regional clean energy development and distribution. Repairing major infrastructure, i.e. bridges. Another war, probably. Paying off the debt or giving it back to the American people. Starfleet. Fix the railways. Public transportation, if functioning, can go a long way to replace cars, especially in areas like the Neck in California. Upgrade the Neck, and maybe some railways in Texas to full high-speed rail. 16-year-long war in Afghanistan. Healthcare, education, fixing the 60 to 80-year-old infrastructure of most big cities, pay back some of the national debt.